Good evening, everybody. Let's see. Is there a chat? Can I see it? All right, it looks like we have 4 people here. I'm trying to see if I can see the chat. Looks like it might get dark. Can everybody hear me? I'm Mary Grace. You're live for a walk and talk with Mary Grace. Okay, so I guess nobody's saying anything. I got some thumbs up here. I haven't done this in a while, so I don't know where the chat shows up. Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm Mary Grace. Here we go. Haven't done this in a while. It might rain. It's going to get dark. I just didn't get home in time today to do a regular show, and then I had to make dinner. You know how that goes. So good to see everybody. I just wanted to say a quick hello. If you're coming in, share this and drop it into Messenger. If you're on Facebook and you happen to be watching on YouTube right now, when I do walk and talks, I only do one platform at a time because it's just too complicated to do the multi-streaming. I can't really see the chat when I do that. I can't manage it on a phone. So it's YouTube only. And I did put the link in my Telegram. If you're in other Telegram rooms and you don't mind sharing the link, that would be great. Just let people know we're here. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, so hopefully we won't get interrupted. And I hope everybody's having a good day. So, did anybody watch this morning War Room when they talked about what was going on in Arizona with the canvassing? It's kind of interesting because CodeMonkey, Ron Watkins, he was hyping it up for a couple of days and being very cryptic. And I noticed that he has definitely a flair for the dramatic. And then Seth Keshel said, everybody watch War Room at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And go ahead and chat and let me know if you're here. And so, the news was incredibly important because, this is a critical part of what we are finding out of the facts that are being uncovered about the election and about the numbers in Arizona. And the long and the short of it is, I'm completely blanking on the woman's name that was giving the report. Delia, what was her name? She's the one that heads up all the canvassing. I keep saying Wendy Rogers, but it's not Wendy Rogers. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, canvassing is where you go door to door and you actually compare. Liz Harris, thank you. You compare, you take the voter rolls, you take the voter data, and they have a questionnaire, a set of questions where they ask the people at the address, if how many people live here, how many voters, that kind of thing. So they're literally cross-referencing voter data with actual, true, real live people at real live addresses. And what they found based on their data, they had a remarkably almost a 50% response rate in door knocking, which is amazing, out of, I think, about 11,000 houses, homes, residences, addresses that they canvassed. And what they found was based on the numbers that they gathered in their canvassing, they were able to take that information and extrapolate and determine that there are about 95,000 ghost voters in Maricopa County. What does that mean? It means that those are voters that were just made up. And they didn't ask for people's party affiliation or who they voted for. They just, wanted to determine okay, we have our records show that there are 6 people at this address that voted, and then people will say, no, there's only 2 people here, things like that. And so this is remarkable because if you remember, um, uh, Beijing basement dwelling Biden, his margin of victory in that whole state was, I believe, 11,000 votes victory. Yeah, his margin of theft was 11,000. And so the thing is, if if you take that factor and then you combine it with the information that Mike Lindell has, and you combine it with uh, the actual audit of the ballots themselves, the ballots that exist, you have an amazing set of facts, which tells you that under no uncertain terms that it was under 11,000 that he won, that they certified. So it tells you that, first of all, what we already knew, which was that it was stolen. And then secondly, um, it tells you that this is an issue. This is a problem because if it's a problem in that county, in one of the biggest county in Arizona, one of the biggest in the country, if that's happening there, what is the likelihood that it's not happening in other places? I mean, we saw ballots being trucked in and dumped uh, in Georgia. Remember in the State Farm Arena, Ruby Freeman, when they were hauling these ballots out from under tables after the water leak. We saw this happening in, was it Michigan? That ballots were being brought in on the loading docks at 3 o'clock in the morning, between 2 and 4 in the morning, something like that. So my point is that, if you create enough voters out of thin air, then of course you can win any election. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? And the thing is, what Seth Keshel was telling us, and so he was uh, he was talking about uh, WPN is going. I don't know what WPN is. WPN, don't know. Um, anyway, uh, what Seth Keshel was saying is that, based on his statistical analysis of the last several election cycles in the state, is that, when you look at the canvassing results, when you look at his interpretation, his data collection, which is open source information, his interpretation of the data, um, it's just there's no denying what happened. That's the point. Sorry, I got distracted. I was reading somebody's comments. So so I think that this is, I mean, I know it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And what I wanted to say is, you know, a lot of people who have big audiences, going back to Ron, Code Monkey, there tends to be a lot of hyping up of events and situations. And I think depending on who you are and how closely you've been following things, you may or may not have thought that this episode of War Room was like an exciting boom event. And it's not like what do I want to say? It's not like an ooh ah wow this is crazy. Um, it's not like that. Hey, listen, for you guys who are just coming in, you're actually watching me live because I'm doing a walk and talk, and now it's getting dark, so I apologize. You won't really be able to see me, but this is live. So, uh, what's my point? My point is, I think that the people who hype these things up mean well because they want to get as many eyes as possible on the news. Because let's face it, following an audit is not that exciting, you know. And one of the things that has made it difficult for people to really understand that we are indeed at war is that, within our shores, within our borders, we're not in a kinetic war. It's an information war. And it's a clandestine war. It's a war of information. It's a war of data. It's a war of uh, rights and um, preserving the Constitution. It doesn't, to the naked eye, look like we're at war. And so I think that people like Ron, they do what they do. They hype things up, partly because they want to get the attention of the deep state, of the people who actually committed the crimes. I mean, he comes out and says that's part of why he's hyping things up. But another reason that they do it is, to get more eyes in general on it. Because think about this, if they had said, hey guys, we have an update on the canvassing, it's going to be on War Room, so make sure you tune in, nobody would have, you know, that's just the truth of the matter. And so now, you had a lot of people who tuned in, and I want to caution people that when you see when the mood or the wow factor of the news that breaks doesn't match the promise of the wow factor from somebody like Ron, don't shoot the messenger. Don't tune out. Be really careful about just getting, having a jaded attitude of saying, that was all. Because as much as we want to see fireworks, the truth is what we heard today was fireworks. It's really important. It's really a critical piece of the warfare that we're in. And so, just guard yourself against thinking that if something, you know, isn't just, like whiz bang pop wow fireworks light show kind of wow boom, um, just because you're not seeing that visually, just because it's not holding your attention like entertainment, doesn't mean that it's not incredibly significant in the fight that we're in. Somebody just give me a thumbs up or a comment or something like that to let me know that you're here. I'm used to seeing a lot more chat. So either everybody's tuned out or they're multitasking or they're just trying to take in what I'm saying. Um, okay, good. So does that make sense? By the way, if you're just coming in, please share this. Please copy this link. I got to find some place with light. I hate walking around here in the dark. I should have gone live earlier. Hey there. Yeah, I don't like being, it just looks stupid on camera when I'm in the dark. Um, so, so anyway, my point is that, we have to really guard ourselves from tuning out when something doesn't meet our expectation of a boom. Okay, that's my point. And because the truth is, one of the reasons that we got to the place that we're in is that, I mean, quite frankly, governance isn't sexy. It doesn't have a wow factor to it. There's Robert's Rules of Order and things like that, and a lot of technical kinds of things, all of which are important. But we are a society that is used to sound bites and constant stimulation. And so because of that, when somebody hypes up an event and we don't actually, see like aircraft carriers blowing up and things like that, um, then we tend to dismiss it as a nothing burger. And we don't want to do that. And so, don't, like I said, don't get mad at Ron for hyping it up, or for at Seth Keshel for saying tune in, because it's absolutely essential that you tune in. Um, and everybody knows that nobody would tune in if there wasn't the promise of some intrigue. And it's just a fact. And so now we know also that the enemies, the traitors who actually stole this election, he got their attention. And a lot of what he posts is to get their attention. That's just the reality. Okay. I need one of those little lights that goes on the top of my selfie stick. I mean, it's only 2021. I guess I could find one of those, right? The technology exists. Uh, so anyway, that's what I wanted to say about the canvassing, about the announcement that was made this morning by Liz Harris. The truth is, we need canvassing in all 50 states. We need audits in all 50 states. I believe that California is going to end up doing an audit, because I think what's going to happen is, when Newsom gets recalled, the Democrats are probably going to cry foul, and they're going to say that we stole it. And they might say that, Mike Lindell gave the hackers, white hat hackers, a backdoor into the Dominion machines, and they were able to fix it for the recall. And then hopefully they'll demand a full forensic audit. Wouldn't that be awesome? But the thing is, with that election, it's going to be interesting because they are using those stupid machines, which is insane. So now, what else did I want to talk about? I wanted to tell you, quickly, before I forget, those of you who watch Steel Truth, who watch Anne's show, her show wasn't on the website last night. She couldn't stream on her website, steeltruth.com. Basically, there's just issues with her hosting service, and it's a surprise, right? They're getting a new website put up. And when they do that, they will be streaming, they'll be embedding the Rumble link onto the website. All that to say, go to her Telegram and make sure that you check there for links to the show, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be streaming on, I know it'll be streaming on Cloud Hub, and she has a number of platforms that she streams on. It just isn't all what people are used to. And she actually does stream on Facebook, but they censor a lot, as we know. Okay, is that better? Can you guys see me? So much for the walking. I had to stop walking and get to where there's a light. Be careful who you follow. I don't even know what that means in the context of what I said. So just remember that if you're trying to watch Anne, they are doing a show. It's just that they're having some technical issues, but the website should be sorted out soon. Okay, good. I'm glad you can see me now. Let me collect my thoughts here because I can't see my notes. What else did I want to tell you? What are the other topics that we're dealing with right now? Oh, the refugees. Now, this is the craziest thing. So, I don't know if you've seen, I talked about this the other day, the American Medical Mafia Association, also known as the AMA, has been very busy going around trying to strong arm doctors and hospitals and pharmacists into not prescribing or filling prescriptions for ivermectin. Does that surprise anybody? No, because it's actually being proven to work. And so the the crazy thing about this is I told you guys this was happening, and I am almost 100% certain that by the end of this week, which is 2 days away, that it will be almost impossible to get a prescription for that drug in America. I hate to say that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And, sometimes God shows me things, and I think this is one of those times because, doctors are already getting letters about this of warning. Hospitals are getting warning letters, and the AAPS, an American Academy of Physicians, something, they wrote a letter to the AMA asking them why, um, why they're doing what they're doing. Okay. And so to me, I can just read the writing on the wall. It's going to be probably as bad as, if not worse than what they did with the other medication, hydroxychloroquine. And so why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because if you do have that on hand, I recommend that if you have a prescription that you go to your neighborhood pharmacy and get it refilled like tonight or tomorrow. I have like 34 people here. Uh, and so hold on. I want to say something about the California election because there's something happening right now that that has happened a lot with conservatives. It actually happened during the Clinton election, and it's the reason that Clinton got elected, is that conservatives are their own worst enemy, and they are. In California are going to you guys in California are going to sabotage this recall effort because you're splitting the vote like 87 ways. And that's what happened. That's how Clinton got elected. Clinton did not have a majority. Um, the other two candidates, Ross Perot and who was the other candidate, they split the vote. And I'm telling you guys, this is crazy what is going on right now. You guys need to pick a candidate and stick behind them because, like one rhino can't write Republican. I mean, we're dealing with this in Virginia, okay? I'm not saying that Larry Elder or one other person is the best. I'm saying that if you guys are going to be out there, um, splitting this up, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you know, it's like you finally got a recall election, and now you're hurling, bullets at the person that is actually the most likely to win. And I am not endorsing one candidate over another. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing happen. Like you guys are going to ruin the recall. So it's self-sabotage. I've seen Republicans do this over and over and over again. President Trump is right. We lost a Senate seat in Georgia because of that. And President Trump is right. The Democrats will circle the wagons, around, a half dead piece of meat. If that's the chosen candidate that they're going to get over the line, they have loyalty to that candidate. And part of the reason that we keep losing is because, it's like we get what we want. We get an election, we get a special election, and then we just completely sabotage it because we split the vote 87 different ways. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that. So I would just think long and hard um, about voting for a candidate that nobody's heard of, just because the one candidate that's leading doesn't isn't perfect. Because right now, done is better than perfect. Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good right now, because a bad Republican is better than a good Democrat 7 days of the week, 365, 24/7. Okay. Um, Anyway, especially for California. And here's the other thing, guys. Um, Whoever gets in office is going to most likely is going to most likely appoint a senator to replace Chi-Fi, Dianne Feinstein. So this is important. If you guys screw this up, it's affecting everything. California is one of the largest economies in the world, and um, it hasn't been Republican in so long. So just don't do this. Don't mess this up. Okay? Don't, like, just step back for a minute from your from principle. And I'm all about voting on principle, but you've got to get behind the guy that is going to actually win, that has a chance of winning, that's polling in the winning numbers. Um, okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah. Okay. Now, going back to what I was saying about the ivermectin. So here's what's going on, and I want you guys to take this seriously, because this is going to be an issue. The people, and so focus for just a minute. Come back to the governor thing in a minute. I want you guys to focus and listen to what I have to say, because this is really important. You could actually be responsible for saving someone's life. So please pay attention. Um, I I'm almost certain that by week's end, if not early next week, it will be almost impossible to get that medication, to get ivermectin by prescription, to get any doctor or hospital to treat with it. And we're already seeing this. We're already seeing the AMA strong arming, asking the FDA to recommend against it, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, they're recommending that only people who are strongly suspected of having roundworm even get considered for this medication. And we know the agenda behind it, and it's absolutely sickening. It's crazy that they're doing this. And what's even crazier is that now the CDC is recommending that the CDC is recommending prescribing ivermectin for all of the refugees that are coming into the country. And so think about this. You are actually So Americans are not only are being denied life-saving treatment that's been proven to work, um, and they're being denied that. And at the same time, the refugees that are coming into our country are being given this medication at the guidance of the CDC. And they're being given the medication indiscriminately. So the argument that it is dangerous and that it is not to be used off label or anything like that is ridiculous, because they're not screening these refugees for whether they are going to have side effects from ivermectin. It's a blanket prescription that any refugee who sets foot on American soil is to be given those prescribed doses of ivermectin before they set foot in the country. And so you have to ask yourself, if they are doing this purportedly to protect Americans, um, it's a big fat lie. Because if that were the case, if they had any interest in protecting people from the harmful effects of ivermectin, then they would not be recommending or requiring that these refugees from from Africa and the East uh, get this. So yeah, I mean, they want to repopulate our country with unvetted refugees, and so they're doing everything they can to make sure they stay alive and don't come down with the Rona. And in the meantime, they are refusing treatment to American citizens who are hospitalized. Yeah, this is crimes against humanity at a completely new level. And so I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, and I'm going to tell you that your actions may you may be in a position where you're going to have to get this treatment to people who need it. So this is what I did. Okay. Um, I'm working on trying to get a prescription for this medication for humans. But what, in the meantime, my research has shown me that the liquid ivermectin that is formulated for horses in uh, the liquid for ivermectin, it's a 1% solution that is in a bottle, and you draw it out with a syringe. It is it's made for horses, but it's FDA approved, and my research has told me that it's the same thing, just in a different formula, in a different dose, than what you give than the pills that you give to humans. Okay, why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because I went to my local agricultural store and I got some of that. I bought a couple of bottles. There's 50 milliliters in a bottle, and the recommended dose for humans is 1 ml per 100 pounds. There is a chart that you can get. Somebody help me out with where to get the chart. I know that I'm pretty sure FLCCC Alliance has that chart. My point is that I don't need 50 milliliters of this, but my dad lives with me. I have family members who may need it. I keep hearing about people um, who are hospitalized, who are being refused, or who go to the ER and are just sent home with Tylenol. And so I'm thinking that we're going to get to the point where there are going to be people who actually need us to bring them what they need. And again, I'm not telling you what to do. I am not a doctor. I am not telling you to go out and, take an unrecommended dose of anything. I'm not telling you to take anything. I'm just telling you that you may be called on to share and to bring somebody something that could save their life. So if you're in a place where you can, if you're in a place where you can go and buy 1 or 2 bottles of this, you could also buy the paste um, that that I recommend, or I recommend. I'm just going to tell you what I did. I went and bought 3 bottles, and then I went and bought a thing of the paste, okay? Because I feel like I might be called on to share. That's what I did. What do you guys think about that? By the way, if you're just coming in, please give a thumbs up if you're liking the content. If you just found me, I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media. Please follow the channel. I'm trying to get up to 2,000 followers, so we're inching up there every day. You can also find me on Facebook at Mary Grace Media. You can find me on CloutHub at Mary Grace Media Channel 111. Okay, so I'm getting some thumbs up here. Yeah, so a lot of people are going to Tractor Supply and they have a big sign up that says, warning, this isn't meant for human consumption, blah, blah, blah. Now, one thing I did read is that there are some pastes that, uh, that are combo, like it's like ivermectin gold or something like that. I'm hearing that you should not get the ones that have other medications mixed in. So I chose the one that said just ivermectin, only ivermectin. And when I went to the store, I couldn't find it right away, the first store that I went to. So I just, the clerk asked if they could help me, and I said, yeah, I'm looking for horse warmer. And I said that. I didn't say the name of the thing. I just walked in, like a boss, and and I live in horse country, so it's not uncommon for a woman who looks like me to walk into a store and uh, ask for horse warmer. It may be different in your area. Like a friend of mine lives over in the valley, and it's not really big horse country where she is, so it's a little bit weird. Um, but my point is that when you go in, you want to go in. I chose to go in and ask and act like I belong there. That I was just this is just part of my routine. That I was just going to go in and buy what I wanted, and I couldn't find it. Okay. And so when I did that, they showed me the paste, and then I said, "Do you have the injectable? That's what I'm looking for." And then it was in a different part of the store for some reason. If you get the injectable, remember that there is a little rubber stopper on the top, and it requires a needle to go in. The store that I went to actually had the syringes with the needles, and so that's how you draw it out. So that's what I did. And so it's crazy that we're in this time in America where everyday citizens who are informed about what's working, who listen to people like Dr. Brian Ardis and some other Dr. Zelenko and people like that. It's crazy that we're having to even think like this. But the thing is, one thing that I have been finding about ivermectin that um, is that uh, I believe that we're going to find, and it's already out there published, that it cures a lot of things, including the C word. Somebody just asked if you have to inject it. Thank you for asking that. That's a good question. Now, if you have a horse, you're going to inject it into your horse based on weight. If you are dealing with a human, humans can put it in a liquid and drink it, and that's what I read. All right, and I know people who've done it, and one of my friends was telling me around here, all the horse people have already known this for a long time. They've been treating their animals with this ivermectin for a long time, and they know what it does. Yeah, so you don't have to inject, but that the needle is required to draw it out into the syringe. That's the important part. So remember that. If you have, you can get a syringe most of the time at a pharmacy. However, the store that I went to, the first store, had the syringes right there on the shelf, and with the needle. They had them with and without the needle. So make sure you get the needle, because it's going to be very hard to get it out and measure it if you don't have it, because the bottle, it's like an insulin bottle. It has that little rubber barrier at the top once you take the top off. And you don't have to refrigerate it. You just keep it in a cool, dry place. So, if your budget allows, that may be something to think about. Um, yeah. And somebody asked if it's better and more efficacious than HCQ. Uh, I don't know. I think that both have the effect of getting the zinc into your lungs, and zinc creates an alkaline environment which the virus can't tolerate. Um, so you should be taking zinc as well. And if you're a superfoods customer, I do recommend that you get the Zinc Aid. It's ZINCADE, because it has the C, and it has the vitamin A, D, and E. Okay. How much did it run? I got the 50 ml bottle, and it was like $40. And then the paste was cheaper. Uh, so good question. Sue is asking if it's preventive or curing. Both. Um, so preventive. Uh, there's a website that I was looking at. I'll post that website in my Telegram room, and I have some screenshots too. So for prevention, uh, they're recommending either once or twice a week. And so what I read is 1 mil per 100 pounds of body weight. So if you're 150 150 pounds, then that's 1.5 mil. Now, just to be clear here, guys, when you have a syringe that is about, as big as my pinky, um, a mil is literally just, can you see my hand? A milliliter is, it's just like, the end of my fingernail, the end of my thumbnail. Okay, the part that extends over my thumb. Like, it's not a big, it's not a whole syringe. So just be really careful about that. Uh, Make sure you're following the lines on the syringe. Not all syringes are the same. You can get a 5 mil syringe, you can get a 10 mil or 20 mil syringe. So pay attention to that. Don't just go and say, okay, well, it looks about this full. Make sure you pay attention to the lines. Now, that being said, what I'm reading is that, if you get 2 mil by accident and you only weigh 150 pounds, you're good. If you take the whole 50 mil bottle, that could be a problem. All right. So just be very aware of that. And now, speaking of which, I did want to say that the fake news has managed to do something that is just par for the course for what they do. They're trying to scare people off of ivermectin by saying that the poison control centers have been flooded with calls for ivermectin overdose and things like that. That's actually not true. It's a manufactured story. They're flooding the zone with stories that are trying to make it sound like people are overdosing on ivermectin and that the poison control centers are overwhelmed, et cetera, just like they did with cases, just like they did with hospitalizations. Remember, they're always cooking the books, they're always cooking the numbers. And so let's say that last year, one county, the poison control center in one region had a call about ivermectin. They had like 2 calls in a 30-day period, right? Well, maybe in that area they had 4 calls in in a 30-day period compared to last year. So, because they know that people don't know how things work and that the low information voter will take their scare tactics and believe them, they will say things like, poisonings, the Centers for Disease Control has been overwhelmed. The Poison Control Center helpline has been overwhelmed with cases of ivermectin poisoning. um, Calls in the last month have doubled. And if you dig past that headline, first of all, you'll find out that nobody actually got poisoned. Most people were just asking, is it possible? And then second, nobody died. And third, double the cases means that double the cases means that it was 4 instead of 2. So do you see how they play games like that? Um, yeah, it's just like when they say the hospitals are overcrowded, they neglect to mention the fact that they're short-staffed in the hospital because they keep firing people who refuse to put experimental substances into their bodies. They just leave that out. And so anytime they're short-staffed, they have to lower their capacity. And so that means that an ICU that has, 100-bed capacity is all of a sudden down, to 50 beds, and they have half the staff. And so they're going to say that they're over capacity if they have 51 people. That's because they don't have enough help, not because everybody's dying of the Rona. So these are the kinds of things that are good to use on your normie friends. Like, it's good to tell your normie friends the way this kind of stuff works. These are things like, if your family and friends are still in the dark, this is a good subject matter just to show them and show them how the numbers actually work, because the numbers are irrefutable. I mean, you just literally just say, okay, when there's 4 instead of 2, the fake news is going to tell you that it's doubled, and they're going to make it sound like the world is ending. Um, but it's not. So just keep that in mind. That's it's a really good talking point. It's like a non-combative kind of thing that you can enlighten people on. Everybody's saying they like the sound of the crickets. Yeah, the crickets are out because it's going to rain. We're going to get a storm. So I think they're just giving us a little serenade tonight. Um, Speaking of serenades, so you guys know my cat Barley George. He he's the funniest. He did the funniest thing today. So he he sits by the back door, and he likes for my dad to let him out on the back deck. So he's allowed on the back deck when we're around. He can't go out unsupervised. And so my dad likes to sit out there, in the mornings and have his coffee, or he sits out, before dinner if the weather's nice. And so Barley George gets to go out there and sit with him. And Barley is really loud. And so he sits there by the back door, and he's crying for my dad to let him out. And this is how it goes. It's like they talk to each other. So he's sitting there, and he has this awful cry. It's so loud. He goes meow 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 like that, and it's really loud. And so he was doing that to my dad. And then my dad comes over, and he goes, "What? You want to go out?" And Barley goes like this. Yeah. It was the funniest thing. It's like they're talking to each other. He's screaming to get my dad's attention, and then as soon as my dad acknowledges him, he just goes, "Meh." It was so funny. And then they sat out there for a while, and Barley just sits under his chair. It's pretty cute, the two of them. It's like two old men. Um, it's sort of like, when you have a grandpa and a grandson, kind of like that. That was Barley today. Um, God's girl. Ivermectin. How long ago did you how long ago, who was that said that they had COVID? Um how long ago did you have it? Cats are the best. We have 4 dogs, no cats. I had 2 that lived in their 20s. Wow, yeah. Yeah, Barley is a funny cat. He has so much character. Okay, God's girl, when did you have it? How long ago did you have it? I was listening to a doctor out of South Africa who's using the MERIC protocol, which is the FLCCC protocol, and he was saying that at this point in the sickness, if you still don't have your taste or smell, he's saying that what seems to be working the best is prednisone. Um, so if you can get prednisone, and I don't know if you realize that you timed out somebody. Was that intentional? It might not have been. If somebody got timed out, it might have been a mistake. So don't get mad. Um, yeah. So check with your doctor if you can get a reasonable doctor to talk to you, and see if you can ask them about that, because I'm not sure if the ivermectin is going to be the answer at this point. Now, that being said, I have a friend who just had it. She and her husband had it, and when they were talking to their doctor said, there's other viruses that cause you to lose your taste and smell. And so, she's not convinced that they actually had um, uh, COVID. Prednisone is not an antibiotic; it's a steroid. It's an anti-inflammatory steroid. Yeah, it's not something that you want to take, all the time. Uh, your doctor isn't the greatest. Well, you could always make up something and tell him that you have like a horrible allergy, and that you go look up the things that prednisone are used for. I mean, if you actually, I hate to be telling you this, but go and look up what is prednisone used for, and then go tell him that you think you have that and that you want a telemedicine interview, and maybe he'll prescribe it. I hate to say that, but sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, that's how people get, you know, um, like, that's how people game the system. I can't believe we're having to do this. We're having to game the system, right? To get treated for something that is basically the flu. And here's the thing, you know, up until last year, think about what would have happened if you went to the doctor. First of all, here's another thing that I wanted to say. If you or your children come down with what you think might be the Rona, um, the first thing that I would do is ask to be tested for the flu because they pretty much stopped doing that. And they're quarantining and treating everybody like lepers because they use that stupid PCR test. And you may not actually have the Rona because we know that the threshold on the test is badly calibrated. So I would actually first insist I want you to give me a flu test first because I might have the flu. Now that being said, ivermectin would still work. It would still be fine. Uh, but what I'm meaning to say here is that up until 18 months ago, if anybody had gone to the doctor with all of these symptoms, with all of the symptoms, and said, I've lost my taste and smell, I can't breathe, I've got a horrible headache, I have a slight fever, shortness of breath, a runny nose, and my stomach is a little off, and I just feel like crap. What would the doctor have said? They would have said, "Oh, you got the flu. You got the flu. Here, let us give you some medicine, and we're going to give you a prescription of antibiotics just in case it develops into, a lung infection or pneumonia, God forbid. We're going to make sure that you get better." All right. And so now what do? If you go to the doctor and you tell them all of that, they immediately um, send you out, like a leper, and send you home with no solution. They tell you to take Tylenol. That's it. And then when you get back to the hospital, because, a lot of people don't recover, um, they end up going to the hospital and then they get admitted and then they get put on remdesivir, which destroys the kidneys and which causes people to have fluid in their bodies, and you get a backup of fluid, and basically people drown in their own fluids. It's insane. And so all the people that you think are having pneumonia, this is what Brian Artis said. He said that it's not it's not pneumonia. He said it's actually drowning. It's an edema. So I just thought that was crazy. Pulmonary edema caused by remdesivir. Your doctor gave you doxycycline. That's actually good. And if you combined it with ivermectin, you'd be gold. It's too bad you couldn't get him to prescribe the ivermectin. Save if you have a refill on the doxycycline, I would recommend getting the refill and keeping it on hand. Well, here's the other thing, guys. So if you have a doctor if you can get the prescriptions, go ahead and get the prescription for either doxycycline or the Z-Pak. Last week when I was having dental issues and I was in a lot of pain, the dentist recommended that I go ahead and get a Z-Pak because it was a long holiday weekend, and if I had an infection, they thought I should take it. Well, I went ahead and got the prescription because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a Z-Pak on hand in case somebody gets the Rona. And so I went and picked up the Z-Pak without insurance. It was $9. And I have that now. So that's in my Rona kit with my ivermectin that I got at the agricultural store. And I also have quercetin and zinc and vitamin D and vitamin C and all those things. So what I'm saying is if you're in a situation, or if you have any medication, if you have anything like doxycycline or tetracycline or Z-Pak, anything that can be refilled or that you can get a prescription for, go ahead and do that. Even if you have to go a little bit, even if you have to be a little bit sneaky to try to get a prescription. I mean, I wasn't sneaky. I was just, when they recommended it, I normally would say no, I don't want an antibiotic. But then I remembered, oh, Z-Pak. I'm going to get the Z-Pak. I'm going to have it in my Rona kit. So that's what I did. Okay. So I hope this is helping. I do have to give the disclaimers over and over and over again. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you, what to take. I'm not treating anybody. I'm telling you what I've decided to do for my family. Okay. And so you have to make decisions about what you're going to do, knowing that you might also be in a position to help somebody else who actually, cannot get access because of what's going to be happening with these prescriptions. So just keep that in mind. Um, oh, sorry. Getting tired. One thing I wanted to tell you, something really cool. Do you remember the other day I said that I had to go to the dentist and that I had a toothache? This is the most amazing thing. I was really praying about this, and I was really just believing for a miracle because I didn't want any dental work. I didn't want a root canal or a crown or anything like that. And I have two crowns in the back of my mouth, and I was really hoping and praying that there wouldn't be something broken or infected under there that would require a root canal and taking the crowns off and all that. Okay. And so that morning, I just, I said a prayer and I just said, God, I just believe that you are the healer and that you can fix this and that you can prevent me from having to have any of these kind of treatments. And I'm just going to believe that when I get there, they're going to look at my tooth and they're going to examine it and they're just going to say, we can't see anything wrong. And that was what I was praying for. And do you know, that's what happened. I went to the dentist and I had, they did like 5 x-rays, and, they found there was one of my teeth that had a root canal, um, from I don't even know how long ago. And, you know, when they looked at it, the dentist said that, there was a really tiny crack in the tooth, but nothing major. And he tried like the cold test, the pressure test, the everything. He it was puzzling to him because he was going, okay, normally if you have an exposed nerve or if you have a broken tooth and they put something cold on it, you kind of jump out of the chair, if anybody's had that experience. Or if they blow air on it, or if they put pressure on it, it's very sensitive. And I it wasn't really happening. It was like, he did a couple things and I was like, maybe that hurts. I mean, it was tender, but it wasn't crazy, excruciating. And here's what happened. Here's what the dentist decided, okay? Or he concluded. He said, we actually have ligaments attached, under our teeth, in our roots, in the root system and in the jaw. And he said sometimes you can actually cause trauma to a ligament, in your root system by biting down too hard on something, and it gets inflamed, and then it's kind of like a bruise and or a strain, and it just needs time to heal. And he said, so I think that that is what happened here. I think that you probably bit down on something. And he said, I noticed that your bite on your back teeth is a little bit, you have some high spots. So I can lightly grind those down a little bit so that you're not putting a bunch of pressure on um, uh, so that you're not putting a bunch of pressure. Anyway, the end of the story is that I walked out of there with, paying for an x-ray and a consultation, and he didn't recommend any intervention. Nothing. no drilling, no root canal, no crown. Like, I was fine. Isn't that just the best? It was so good. And so it's almost back to 100%. The pain is almost all gone. And I did take arnica, and then I took some of my superfoods, which have a lot of anti-inflammatory and restorative properties. So and then I, of course, had God healing me. Amazing. So, guys, Jesus is the healer. And when you are faced with a situation that looks on the surface really bad, believe him to heal you, believe him to take care of it, and ask him for what you want. I was very specific. I said, I want the dentist to look at my tooth and say, there's really nothing wrong. We don't see a break. We don't see a need for a crown. We don't see a need for a root canal. You're going to be fine. And that's what happened. Um, so it was amazing, really amazing. I did. Oh, and at the same time, I had a horrible canker sore in my mouth. It was crazy. It was like my mouth had just been through some trauma. But it's all better now. Everything's better. Everything's better. So good. Okay, listen, I've been on here about an hour. I'm going to try to come on tomorrow. I can't guarantee that I will. Those of you who've been watching me, you know that I'm going to be gone next week. I'm leaving Saturday. I'm taking my dad to New England, and I most likely will not be broadcasting from there. I don't even know how good the internet is going to be. But make sure you're following me. If you are on YouTube right now, uh, please, if you're on YouTube, please thumbs up, like this broadcast. Please follow my channel on YouTube. I'm trying to get to 2,000 followers. And please share this with people that you know. Hit the bell so you don't miss another show. And if you're coming back for the replay, leave a comment. That helps other people see this in the news feed, because the more comments we get, the more interaction, the more YouTube is going to promote it. Okay. And if you are one of my Facebook people, you're probably not watching this, but maybe you found it on YouTube. And just remember, when I do walk and talks, when I'm out and about, I'm gonna do YouTube. I don't even have the Facebook app on my phone, so it's going to be on YouTube. So please make sure that you are following this YouTube channel. Okay. Thank you to my moderators. Uh, Pat says, have a safe and lovely trip. Who's watching Barley? So we have a girl who comes, and she actually stays with my dad and Barley. She's not a girl. She's like in her 30s probably, but I call her a girl. She's really sweet. She likes Barley. She likes my dad. She works at my friend's rehab clinic where my dad goes sometimes. He calls it the gym, but it's really um, the regenerative medicine doctor, but he has a rehab room. Anyway, she works there, and she is really sweet and very responsible. And so she's going to be coming in and hanging out with Barley and checking on him in the morning and night and that kind of thing. And when my dad is home, she actually stays at the house with them, and then she works during the day. But it works out great. She takes good care of him, and I'm really blessed to have her. I'm hoping that I can get a backup person, because she does quite a bit of pet sitting and things like that. So I'm hoping I never get in a situation where she's not available. But but anyway, she's really good. It's really a blessing. I trust her to come and go, and she has a house key, things like that. Yeah, so it's great. Works out great, and everybody likes everybody, so that's good. She sits and does puzzles with my dad and watches TV with them, so it's good. Yeah, so guys, there's a lot of revelation coming out, and just be aware that we've really prayed for the corruption to be revealed. We've prayed for the truth to come out, and when you see things being revealed, don't be alarmed. Don't be scared. Don't let the enemy get you off course, because God is revealing the plans of the enemy and revealing the corruption, because we've asked him to do that. And we have to trust the process, and we do have to get involved. And remember, President Trump says that everybody has personal choice and freedom of choice. And I want to encourage you that that means that you have the freedom of choice to stand up for your rights, not just when it comes to putting something in your body, but period. Whether it's at the school board or at the board of supervisors or at your job or whatever. The people that are elected are there by the consent of the governed, and that means that they do not have any power without your consent. Okay? So just be aware of that. And when you pray, pray from a place of faith, not fear, because God is expecting your faith, and the angels are expecting you to pray from a place of faith so that they can be activated to do the things that um, need to be done. They're like an army. Uh, they need to be uh, mobilized. Um, yes, and pray for California. And I'm very serious about this division of forces out in California. Everybody needs to pick a candidate. Some of you might hold your nose for the candidate, and it might not be your first one, but do not split that vote when it comes to governor. Get the right person in office. Um, okay, everybody have a good evening. Again, hit the thumbs up on the broadcast, and thank you so much for being here tonight. And I guess we got a little bit of walking and talking, and then we got some sitting and talking. So it was a combination. Everybody have a great evening, and I will be back hopefully tomorrow.